Supply. In this video, we are going to go ahead and focus on the supply side. Supply comes from the behavior of sellers or producers in the market. Whenever we talk about supply, it's very similar to demand. So quantity supplied of any good is again what sellers are willing and able to sell. So one, they should be willing to sell that much quantity, and they should be able to sell that much quantity. If they're able to do both, then at a given price, whatever quantity they want to supply, this is known as quantity supplied. Quantity supplied is always a relationship between quantity and price. It is something which helps us to plot the supply curves. Law of supply. The law of supply suggests that there is a positive relationship between price and quantity supplied. So, when price increases, then suppliers are willing to supply more quantity in the market, and quantity supplied also increases. So the supply curve is upward sloping. Supply schedule. A supply schedule is basically a tabular relationship which tells you the relationship between how much quantity at what price. So for example, when the price is 0, obviously the supplier will not supply anything. As the price increases to 1, supplier wants to supply 3 units, price 2 wants to supply 6 units, 3 wants to supply 9 units. And as the price keeps on increasing, the quantity that the supplier wants to supply will also increase. So as the price increases, the quantity that supplier wants to sell also increases. When we show this information in the form of a table, that at what price, what quantity is supplied, then this is known as a supply schedule. So a table that shows the relationship between price of a good and the quantity supplied. At what price, how much quantity will be supplied, that table that shows that relationship is known as the quantity supplied. For example, when we think from the side of Starbucks, how much would they be willing to supply at different prices? That becomes the quantity supply. Note that Starbucks supply schedule obeys the law of supply. So law of supply was just suggesting as the price increases, the quantity supplied also increases. And this is something which we can clearly see here, that as price increased from 0 to 6, the quantity supplied also increased from 0 to 18. When we go ahead and we represent this schedule diagrammatically, then this basically becomes the supply curve. So the supply curve is the diagrammatical representation or a graphical representation of what is a supply schedule. So at price of 0, the quantity is also 0. When the price is 1, the quantity is here 3. When the price is 2, the quantity is here 6. When the price is 3, the quantity is here 9. When the price is 4, the quantity is here 12. When the price is 5, the quantity is here 15. And when the price is 6, the quantity is here 18. When we draw a curve through it, then this is known as the supply schedule, supply curve. So the graphical representation of a supply schedule is known as a supply curve. Market supply versus individual supply. Just like in case of demand, we have a similar scenario with market supply and individual supply also. At any given price, when I add the quantity supplied by different people, different firms, firm 1 to n, then this gives me the market supply. So for example, when the price is 0, Starbucks wants to sell 0 and Jitters also wants to sell 0. So market supply is 0. When price increases to 1, Starbucks wants to sell 3 cups of lattes. Jitter wants to sell 2 cups of latte. So in market, we will have 5 cups of lattes. When price is 2, Starbucks wants to sell 6. Jitters wants to sell 4. So total, we will have 10 cups of lattes. At price of 3, we have 9 plus 6, 15 cups of lattes. At price of 4, we have 12 plus 8, 20 cups of lattes, and so on. As price is increasing, at any given price, we are adding how much is Starbucks selling, how much is Jitter selling to get the total market supply. So the quantity supplied in the market is sum of the quantities supplied by all the sellers at each price. So at a given price, what is the supply by different sellers together gives us the market supply. When we again show this total market supply in a schedule, this becomes the market supply schedule. So at 0, nobody was selling, so 0 units. At 1, the total market had 5 units of lattes, so 5. At 2, market had 10 units of lattes, so 10. At 6, market had 30 units of lattes, so 30. So when we go ahead and we show this diagrammatically and picture in a table, it gives us the curve and market schedule respectively. So this is the market schedule. At each price, it tells me how much quantity is available in the market. And when I plot this, that at price of 0, it's 0. At price of 1, it is 5. At price of 2, it is 10. And when I just plot this, this gives me the market supply. Okay. So now we want to understand what is going to shift the supply curve. There are a lot of factors that shift the supply curve. So first of all, make sure that you understand that when we are plotting the supply curve, it is drawn in the PQ domain. So anything that is a change in price or quantity is going to lead to a movement along the supply curve. So when price changes, it leads to a movement along the supply curve. Okay, but any factor other than price, it is going to lead to shift of the price curve, of the supply curve. So supply curve is always drawn as a relationship between price and quantity supplied. Supply curve holds other things constant, and when those other things change, it leads to the shift of the supply curve rightward or leftward. So we will go ahead and see how that happens. To begin with, let us go ahead and understand the input prices. So to understand the input prices, we would like to understand what happens when there is increase in, let's say, the wages that we pay to the laborers. See, labor supposedly is used to produce your output. You are selling, suppose, your output at a price of 10. At price of 10, you're willing to sell 5 units of your output, each at 10 rupees. When the wage that you pay to the labor increases, then what this means is that the cost of production has increased. And when the cost of production increases, automatically selling at 10 rupees becomes a little difficult, right? You're not willing to sell 5 units at 10 rupees. You're willing to sell lesser units, because you think that the net profit you're making is lower. So it reduces your supply, which means the supply curve will shift backward. So please see this. Whenever there is a fall in the input prices, now we are taking the opposite case, it makes production more profitable. If it makes production more profitable, then you want to supply a larger quantity at each price. So the supply curve shifts to the right. So just the opposite of this, right? If wages are in fact decreasing, then the cost of production is decreasing, then your profits are increasing, you want to supply more. So let's see here. Suppose the price of milk falls. Now milk was used to make coffee, lattes. Now when the price of milk decreases, making lattes become more profitable. So you want to produce more of coffee, right? So at each price, the quantity of latte supplied will increase, and therefore, because price of the coffee didn't change, you're still selling at the same price, but now you're willing to supply more quantity because your profit margin in the background is higher. So the supply curve is going to shift to the right. Let's take one more example, technology. See, when technology improves, again, this implies that you are able to become more efficient. This implies that your productivity increases. This means that your profitability increases. Right? So this means that you will want to supply more. So the supply curve shifts rightward. So technology determines how much inputs are required to produce 1 unit of output. A cost-saving technology, whenever you use a technology which helps you save your cost, which helps you become more efficient, that basically has the same effect as a fall in the input prices. So it shifts the supply curve to the right. Number of sellers. Of course, when there is increase in the number of sellers, so here, let's just plot this. When technology improves, your supply curve will shift to the right. This is improvement in technology. Okay. All right, come back. Number of sellers. When there is increase in number of sellers, of course, there will be more supply at any given price. So the supply curve will shift to the right. So this is your initial supply curve. And now at any given price, there will be more supply. So the supply curve will shift to the right. Expectations. Now, please understand this thing. If you are expecting the price, this is given by PE. PE means price expectations. Price expectations means what price are you expecting for any of your product. Now imagine if I am thinking that the price at which I can sell my sanitizers or my mask will increase in the future, what will I do today? I will stop supplying this today. What will I do? I will just keep all of this in my warehouse. And tomorrow, when the price will increase, I will sell it then at a higher profit margin. Are you getting it? So when there is going to be an expectation, when you think that prices of the good that you are selling is going to rise in the future, you will reduce your supply today. You will save your inventory so that you will sell it later at a higher price. You want to sell it at high price. So this would mean that your supply will decrease today. So what is going to happen to your supply curve in that case? Your supply curve will shift backwards. Are you getting it? Why? Because you don't want to supply today. You want to wait for the future when you can make more profit. So let's summarize. What have we learned? Whenever there is a change in the price of the commodity, it leads to movement along the supply curve. Technology, input prices, number of sellers, expectation about the prices, all these factors lead to shift of the supply curve. Okay. All right. Let's take an example. Draw a supply curve for tax return preparation software. What happens in each of the following scenarios? Retailers cut the price of the software. What is going to happen? See, when retailers are going to cut the price of the software, this implies that there is going to be a movement along the supply curve. So now, because the price is lower, then the quantity is also going to be lower. So you will move from a point like A, where there was a high price and high quantity, to a point like B, where there is a low price and low quantity. So the supply curve will not shift. It will just move along the curve to a lower P and lower Q. Let's take the next question. A technological advancement allows the software to be produced at lower cost. So there is a technological improvement. So which means that you will be producing it at a lower cost. Still, you will be selling it at a higher price. You will get more margins. So your supply is going to increase. So whenever there is a technological improvement, this is going to go ahead, increase your profit margins. You will increase the supply of your product. So the supply curve will shift to the right. Is it okay? So you will shift from S1 to S2. Let's take the third part. Professional tax return preparers raise the price of service they provide. Now, please understand this thing, okay? One is a software. This software helps you to return, to do this tax return preparation. And then you have these people who provides you service, right? The people who are providing the service of preparing return, this is basically not related to your software, right? This is going to not change the supply curve at all, right? What is going to happen in this case? It is going to affect the demand curve, right? For tax preparation software, the demand for tax preparation will increase. So imagine this. You are a customer. Either you can use a software to file return, or maybe you can go to a CA to file return. This CA is providing you service of filing return. When the price of the CA will increase, because software and CA are substitutes of each other, people will not go to CA. People will file on their own using the software. So the demand of software, this will increase. So this is a substitute good effect, that when the price of the services, the people who provide this service increases, people go to the alternative, and the quantity, and the demand of software increases. but this has got nothing to do with the supply side. Please don't get confused. So this shifts the demand curve for tax preparation software, nothing to do with the supply curve. This is a little tricky, okay? Okay, so this finishes the supply side module. Thank you.